Hello?
And gentlemen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished shareholders, and we will start. It's working. Yeah. I welcome you all to the first annual general meeting of your company, Access Holdings PLC. I now declare the meeting open. Sorry, point of order. I now call upon Pastor Gbenga Idowu to please lead us in an opening prayer.
Stand up for prayer. Management and staff of this company, for your mercy, for your favor, for your knowledge, for your wisdom, which you are giving them to pilot the affairs of this bank. Now they are going on a new journey. First, as holding company. Lord, you will establish them. You will open doors for them. That peace of mind around and within them and without, that they'll be able to excel in the name of Jesus. We specifically pray for the affairs of the bank well. We are grateful to you, our Father and our Maker.
Thank you very much. May we all be seated, please. The necessary quorum for this meeting has been met.
Officers present and esteemed shareholders. The articles of the corporation prescribe the quorum for this meeting as members less than 1/10 of the issued capital of the corporation. We confirm that at the start of this meeting, we have 472 members physically present and 221 members represented by proxies, with a total of 16,399,118,549 shareholding, representing 46.14% of the issued share capital of the corporation. With this information, we hereby confirm that the quorum has been formed. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. I'll start from your extreme left. down this way on the table. So first of all, I would like to introduce sitting next to her is Mr. Sheyi Kumakpai, non-executive director. And next to him is Mrs. Fatima Bello Ismail, independent non-executive director. Then we have Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna, non-executive director. Next to me, we have Mr. Sunday Ekochi. Then we have Mr. Abubakar Jimo, independent non-executive director. Then Mrs. Ojini Olahere, non-executive director. And we have Mr. Lanre Bamishebi, executive director. Our other online, you can see him there. And finally, myself, Mr. Bababode Oshunkoya, entered this morning the Central Bank of Nigeria, represented by Mr. Israel Sheyi Oloyede. You're welcome. The Securities and Exchange Commission, represented by Mr. Egbuniwe Obinna. The Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, represented by, they are going to be joining us online. This is Lillian Dako. Corporate Affairs Commission, represented by Mrs. Olayinka Ohoyon. The company's external auditors and consultants, Ernst & Young, represented by Mrs. Titilayo Iwenjora. Mr. Omashola Araho, Chief Organ, member and shareholder. For a bit of housekeeping, may I inform all present that roving microphones are available for use or ask a question and you will be recognized. When called upon to speak, one of the and straight to the point. We wish to have a full recording of this meeting. The meeting is also being streamed live to the public. I would like to inform members that the register of shareholders is available for inspection during this meeting. Our register of directors' shareholding is available for inspection during 2 of the annual reports and accounts, which I believe we're all in possession of. Meetings is available for inspection during the meeting and is contained on pages 103 to 106 of the annual reports and accounts. I will now call on the company secretary to read the notice of the meeting. The notice is contained on page 418.
Notice of annual general meeting. Notice is hereby given that the first annual general meeting of Access Holdings PLC, the company, will hold at the Bamora Convention Center, Federal Palace Hotel, 6 to 8 Amadu Bello Way, Victoria Island, Lagos, on the 24th day of May 2023 at 10 a.m. To receive the company's audited financials of the directors, auditors, and audit committee directors. 4, PricewaterhouseCoopers. 5, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. 6, to disclose the remuneration of the manager. 7, to elect members of the audit committee. Then we have special business / special resolution that the company's memorandum and articles of association be and hereby amended as set out at the link provided www.accesscorporations.com. C, with related parties or interested persons, the company and its related entities, the group, be and are hereby granted a general mandate in respect of all recurrent transactions entered with a related party or interested persons, provided such transactions are of revenue or trading nature, are necessary for the company's day-to-day operations. This mandate shall commence on the day on which this resolution is passed and shall continue to operate until the date on which the next annual general meeting of the company is held. 10, that the director's fees for the financial year ending 31st December 2023 and for succeeding years until reviewed by the annual general meeting be and is hereby fixed at 33,125,000 naira only. Employees performance share plan by a special resolution of the shareholders of Access Bank, and B, the restructuring of the shareholding of the bank through a scheme of arrangement, grade the employees performance shares plan of the bank to Access Holdings PLC, such that the employees performance share plan shall, for all intents and purposes, be applicable to direct subsidiaries as directors may determine on such terms and conditions or modifications thereto as directors may from time to time consider appropriate. 12, the directors be and are hereby authorized to perform all acts and to do all such other things as may be necessary for or in prosy. A member entitled to attend and vote at the annual general meeting is entitled to appoint a prosy to attend and vote in his stead. A prosy need not, all instruments of prosy must be duly stamped at the stamp duties office and deposited at the office of the registrar, Coronation Registrars Limited, Plot 9, Amodo Ojukutu Street, off Sakatinibo Street, Victoria Island, Lagos, or via email at eforms@coronationregistrars.com, not less than 48 hours prior to the time of the meeting. Of them will suffice, but the names of all the joint shareholders must be stated. If the shareholder is a company, the prosy form must be under the common seal or under the hands of the same office, decided to stamp at its cost all duly completed and signed prosy forms submitted to the company registrars within the stipulated time. By order of the board, signed company, Sunday Kochi, company secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The chairman's statement is contained on pages 24 to 26 of the annual report and accounts, which has already been circulated to you. I hereby humbly seek you. Now move to the formal business of this meeting. Okay. The annual reports and accounts. Distinguished shareholders, each of you would have received copies of the annual reports and accounts of the company for the year ended 31st December 2022, either electronically. Thank you. I'll now ask the representatives of the external auditors, PwC, to present the auditor's reports, which is...
Chairman and other board of director members to take a summary of the opinion. It's on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements and its subsidiaries as at 31 December 2022, and its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act. We have audited the comprehensive income, the statement of financial position, the statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flows, and the notes to the financial statements, which include a summary of the a summary of the key audit matters are included in page 147 and 148. I'll go ahead to read the requirements of report on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Company and Allied Matters Act require that in carrying out our audit, we consider a report to you on the following matters. We confirm that we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best proper books of account, so far as appears from my examination of those books, and returns adequate for our audit have been received from branches not visited by us. The company's statement of financial position and statement of comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts and returns. Signed by...
Thank you very much. I will now ask the chairman of the audit committee.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay.
Report for subsection 7 of the Company and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria. The members of the audit committee of Access Holdings Limited hereby report. Oh, 116, sorry, 116, sorry, page 116. We have exercised our statutory functions under the section 404, subsection 7 of the Company and Allied Matters of Nigeria, and acknowledge the cooperation of management and staff in the conduct of our responsibilities. We have the opinion that the agreement and ethical practices and the scope and planning of the audit, both the audit internal and reinforce the group external control system. We are satisfied with the company that we are satisfied that the company has complied with SD/1/2004, dated 18th February 2004, on the disclosure of its performing as at 31st December, deliberated on the findings of the external auditors. And we have confirmed that necessary cooperation and was received from management and with the effectiveness of the company's system of accounting and internal control. Members of the committee are Henry Omachola Rao, chairman and member. Unfortunately, we lost him on the 27th of August. Shareholder and member, director and member. Sunday Okochi was in attendance as company secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The company's audited financial statements for the year ended committee thereon. Okay. To facilitate the smooth conduct of the business for the day, I will move each motion. Go ahead.
The chairman committee just informed us that we lost one of their members. And I think that itself should be an opportunity for us to observe a minute silence for him in the last 1 year we attended. Over to you, sir.
Very well noted, sir. Very well noted. I'd ask that we all rise to observe a memoramo. Bringing our thoughts and prayers to a close, I pray that the soul of Mr. Olutoyin Eleoramo rests in everlasting peace. Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Conduct of business for the day. I will move each motion and invite seconders for each motion from the floor. Voting on the resolutions to be passed during the meeting, coronation virtual electronic voting device, unless on the registrars to give a brief description of the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Esteemed shareholders, please be informed and holding 16,376,200,000. Esteemed shareholders by proxy and holding 16,376,224,081 units, representing 46.07% cast here today. For shareholder voting that we have configured to represent your shareholding in Access Holdings PLC. After the resolutions have been read out, the shareholders are to cast their votes. 2B for a no vote and 3C for abstain. The last button you press will be recorded as your vote. On camera or visit vote.coronationregistrars.com on your phone browser provided during accreditation and press the login button. Ensure you accept the privacy policy. Once logged in, a number sign appears at the top right corner of your device to show attendance status. When voting begins, the resolutions will automatically pop up on your screen to cast your vote. Once the voting session, please click on the reference button in accordance with your decision. Please note that shareholders can change their vote during the voting period, but once the voting period has ended, the last button you pressed will be recorded as your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 31st December 2022, and the reports of the directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon. I now lay before you the audited financial statement committee previously circulated to all shareholders in line with section 388, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, and requests that the same be received by this meeting. Will the shareholder please second this motion? Name, please. Okay. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For shareholders voting using their mobile devices, please scan the QR codes. Please display the voting. "45 seconds left for the voting period.
Is it concluded?
No, sir. Few seconds left. We have 236 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution, and we have neither.
Therefore carried. Thank you very much. And reports. Please remember to give your names and make use of the microphone. After the questions and answers, please, Mr. Donna, I will please.
Distinguished fellow shareholders and other, tempted to start on the note of the fact that we are 20 years old, and that also means that we have come of age. Yes, I know that 20 years is a relatively young age for banks as far as Nigeria is concerned. But notwithstanding, my major concern, my major appreciation is the fact that anybody who got a copy of this annual account, either before today or today, serious business. Because if you have a textbook, the way you can pass and get promoted to the next class is that you must own of this account. Means that all of us as shareholders, especially the retail shareholders, must now begin to take their investment a little more seriously and make sure we'll make sure that our directors are main, and I mean the word main, to account their stewardship to us. So it's on that note that will be straining to us to look at it. First is to say that with the holding of these banks, that we constantly draw the attention of the board, representing various interests, excluding the minority, to be always and ever. The second major area that I also think that we need to draw your attention to is what we have on page 84 and 85. And looking at the size of the donation that we made and giving the spread, that we may be necessary that we begin to think of having a file with two contributions there because they are related. But going forward, I think it's one major area that we need to look at. Also realizing that we're in a number of of management. Page 119 to 120. One of the things I will want to see, we also need to take additional cash, old notes to new notes position. Quite a number of persons were affected. I was also affected about 12 different transactions. Confidence and the respect of the customers. Let me also speak to the issue on page 121. Given the business that we do, we cannot rule out the position. As attached to that number is what then gives me some concern. And I will be hoping that the board will be talking around what's the occurrence. Let me then look at the accounts proper. The issue that I will want clarity around has to do relating that to what also the company has on page 354. Because looking at those,
we don't over these things. These costs are too high on the part of the banks. Mr. Chairman, I'm also very happy that the total assets has reached 15 trillion naira. Mr. Chairman, I remember a few years ago, about 10 years ago or 12 years ago, when we were talking about, reaching the 1 trillion naira mark in the bank over its assets, I think we have never anticipated that our total assets will hit this tremendous amount, 15 trillion naira. How about I congratulate all of you, please. Please give them some applause, please. When beautiful things are said over people, you should applaud them. You don't want them to achieve more? Don't you want more dividend?
Thank you, sir.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, the access pensions, Mr. Chairman. The Access Pensions Limited is very good that it also has an asset over 900 billion naira. But what is the plan for African expansion? I think this is very, very relevant. As you have done for the bank, you anticipated, that the African continent is going to be very important several years ago. I think for the pensions company also, there should be a plan for African expansion, because I'm sure it is an area, it is also a gold mine. So I think the whole core, the group chief executive and his team should please consider an African expansion. It's going to bring us more income and more. Finally, Mr. Chairman, yes, no, we have to appreciate our registrars. Before I came, around 1 a.m., I just saw, my mail. In my mail, they sent me my access code and my access number and my, access code for this meeting. I think this is unprecedented. I think we must have to appreciate the registrars. This is very, very beautiful. It's very beautiful, Mr. Chairman. They are also upholding the values of the founding fathers of this institution.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, lastly, just lastly, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, we have a packed agenda.
Yeah, lastly, Sunday, you don't want us to appreciate you also. Can't you see Sunday? This remarkable gentleman, he has been very professional, going about his job over the years, and we all appreciate him. You can see the maturity with which he approaches everything, the hard work and the commitment. Sunday, please keep it up. We all appreciate you down here. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Okay, next question. In the interest of equity, we'll take the question from.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulatory authorities here present, my eminent shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Mrs. Bisi Bakari. I'm the National Coordinator of Pragmatic Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, I would like to begin my comments by acknowledging, congratulate, and commend the entire board, management, and staff of Access Holdings PLC for the good performance for the year 2022. Page 19. Access Holdings PLC 2022 results shows a growth in gross earnings by 43%, reaching 1.39 trillion, despite difficult microeconomic environment and global downturn. With inflation over 20%, our company were able to bring down our cost-to-income ratio. This is very good and is highly commendable. Please let us appreciate the entire board for this. Mr. Chairman, permit me to specially thank and appreciate the leadership of Mr. Albert Wigwe and his team. Sir, 10 years ago, no investors ever thought that Access Bank will be where they are today in the banking sector. We should appreciate our MGMD for this type of innovations. Access Bank PS, Access Holdings PLC, crossing trillion mark in gross earnings. Wow, this is very good. Please let us appreciate them again. A very sound round of applause, please. Again, our customer deposits and total assets increased by 33% and 28% respectively. Overall, looking at our performance, this is a very good and outstanding performance. Please keep it up. Page 20, awards and recognition. We received several awards during the year under review. This indicates our strong performance in sustainability and environmental responsibility. The awards are a commendation of our company's efforts in this area. Kudos to the entire management for this also. Page 25. I want to also commend our company for the proposed dividend of ₦1.30, in addition to interim dividend that was given to us last year. This is very good. Today, like earlier speaker said, we are getting dividend of ₦1.50 from Access Holding. This is very good, and I hope and pray that the trend will continue. Page 25, Chairman statements. Mr. Chairman, on your statements, you talk about 5-year strategy and the intention to become top 5 financial service provider in Africa by 2027. Sir, I want to ask that how do you intend to achieve this with the competitive market and also to grow shareholders' returns? Page 103. I would like to commend the board's commitment to environmental sustainability through the use of the diligent board book. This is very good. The list of issues addressed during the meetings in 2022 demonstrates the board's dedication and attention to key matters. I'm particularly impressed by the approval of the 2023 to 2027 strategy and the approval of the company's budget, as well as the approval of subsidiaries' risk appetite levels. The establishment of 6 standing committees, each with a clear charter. This is highly commendable because this is the first time I'm seeing this kind of this demonstration in any annual report. Of course, like Mr. Nonawo said, we have over 400 pages of our annual report. But the annual report, despite that it's over 400, when you are going through it, it's like you should not stop. It's very detailed. I commend the Office of Company Secretary for that. Lastly, though Mr. Nonawo has talked about that, there is some fraud and forgeries. I only have 1 or 2 questions on that. Mr. Chairman, I want to ask that, are there any technologies or processes that our company is considering in implementing to enhance its cyber security and prevent electronic fraud? Lastly, what is the company's strategy to mitigate risk associated with cash? Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me, Mr.
Thank you very much. Sir Sonny also has been calling our attention. We'll come back to you.
Mr. Chairman of the board, please permit me to Mr. Chairman, please permit me to address the Hawaii sitting down.
Granted,
thank you
sir.
very much. Yeah. Others that spoke by while standing have taken all my strength. So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to recall that some 5-10 years ago, I want you to look at the picture on page 28. Are you there, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, that reflects the mood of Herbert during that very period when he was looking ahead to say, where are we going to be in a few years' time? Although they were very bold to have made a statement, himself and his brother Ike, to say that in 5 years' time they are going to challenge all the big banks in the country. That has been achieved. So the further picture in that reflects the achievement. You can see that he's relaxed and he was smiling. So be that as it may, Mr. Chairman, when our result came out, it was a shock to some of the big ones that our asset grew into the region of trillion mark. That was a shock to other ones. But what we are still not yet been able to fathom out is who is the leader, who is the friend of shareholders among the whole big ones. Because we discovered that we had some red bank that always challenge each other with about 1 naira difference. But that is not what the shareholder wants. The shareholder wants a difference of about 2 naira against those fractions that they are giving to us. So we want to see whether assets will break that jigs. So in coming year, with an asset of trillion, we want to see how it's going to go. Thank you for the dividend, but I think we still need more money. And you have done well in all those areas, but except that you are yet to give us a bonus. We want to see you have 5 fellows on this board, 5 fellows of Chartered Institute of, what do they call them? Yeah, 5 fellows from chairman down that way, even MD, all fellow. No, you cannot be following yourself. You must be proactive to do something that we know that these 5 fellows are assets to the bank. Now, I am happy with the reporting on Ghana. You have been very proactive. You have made a statement here on Ghana. I want to see if I can link the page where you made the statement, which is very good. We have been very worried about Ghana, but that statement you made has actually put those things. Well, I'm sure the man who prepared this annual report with full disclosure should be able to get to that page where you have the statement. That statement came after the declaration of the dividend and every other thing. I did flag it, but I don't know what happened. Have you seen it?
29.
Page 29. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's why you are a fellow. The statement is very educating because this is a situation where all other banks found themselves, but we have taken a proactive measure to take care of that problem. On foreign investment, I want to congratulate the board. In 14 countries, even the one that is Pan-Africa, you are beating that one with 14 countries. But I think there is need for us to tally a little bit and assess all the investment we have done in 14 countries and see whether it's working to the expectation of the board before we move forward. Mr. Chairman, very importantly, let me tell you the opinion of shareholders. Today, they are very happy with you because you are doing an open AGM, which enables them to see our directors and directors seeing them too. So all others have taken the shorter way of, and in this country, network is a problem. If network issue is not addressed in this country, virtual meetings cannot be enjoyed by those who are using it. So it's in fact, I want to say thank you for that decision. When you first came out, We were worried. Eventually, I think you heard the voice of your shareholders and changed it. We want to thank the board and management for taking that decision. I am quite sure, Yabeji, you have seen me. You haven't seen me in the last 1 year. But today you have seen me. If it were virtual, you will not have seen me that I'm working with my support working stick. So thank you very much, Chairman, for that.
Thank you, sir. Are you done, sir?
Just a minute, you know, I'm Baba slow now, so I want to look at. Yeah, I know. Mr. Chairman, I want to take side with the first speaker who talked about AMCON and the insurance company. Then we're also having the restricted deposit with Central Bank. These three things have taken a lot of money from the company. And I want the Bankers Committee or the Association of Bank Directors to look into all these things, because when you want to go it alone as assets, they may be very punitive. You know, like Central Bank system, when you complain, they increase your penalty. So, but when you go through the Association of Bank Directors to do it, they will know that it's not a single bank that is actually talking about this. But we are worried about it. The money is getting too much. That is going to NDIC. AMCON have outstayed its usefulness, because the thing they switch them, they are extending their term. So the bankers should work on that and save us of this, so that if we ask you for 2 naira dividend, you'll be able to give us 2 naira dividend. So it's very important. And let me say again that it is these shareholders, when assets first came out, it was a tissue paper, but today it's a cardboard that can use to produce anything good. They named God bless assets, and God bless those that think positively about assets.
Amen.
And God bless the directors. Thank you
Amen.
very much.
And thank you very much. Distinguished shareholders, you must admit that we've had quite a lot of insightful questions. So what will happen is that we will take a break and you'll be answered, and then we'll continue the questions later. I'd want to hand over to the Group Chief Executive to answer the questions thus far.
More questions, but I thought that we should break it so that we would have enough time to address all the questions. Is this working? It's working. Sorry, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you. Let me start by saying that we will never ever forget how we got here. And that is our history. Can I have your attention, gentlemen? And that is our history. We are also very mindful as directors of our duties and responsibilities to all stakeholders, shareholders, whether large or small, to the public, to government, etc. So, Nona, if for instance I didn't pick up your calls, it's because I didn't see it. But certainly, we wanted to have this level of transparency in terms of meeting with our shareholders. For some of you, we've not seen in a long time. Who would have known that Sonny Wosu would have been working with AID today, but for the fact that we have this meeting and the fact that some of us have to, basically keep abreast with some of our shareholders who have supported us for over 20 years. This is the most important meeting between ourselves and yourselves. And so there's no reason for us to do it virtually if we can avoid it. I mean, COVID was something, resume our normal meetings, except of course if there's another pandemic. But let me quickly start from Nona's questions. Nona, well, it's serious business. These accounts run into 500 pages now. My suspicion is that one day, sustainability ethos, but we'll continue. We've managed it down, but hopefully people should be able to get on their iPads very soon and access all of this information. The way the world is going is less and less and less paper all right? Even for me carrying it here, because I knew people were going to refer to pages, etc., all right, for us to basically start to look at what is the overall impact of all of this carbon footprint and the impact on our environment. But, like you said, a lot more attention is being paid to the minority shareholders. We have to pay and do what we can do a bit more by way of our dividend payments, which can only come from improved performance and, of course, you know, what we've agreed to be our dividend policy that allows us basically to continue to support growth from our existing profitability. Now, you spoke about if we had our way, there'll be no need to give out this much money. But given what we need to do with respect to the overall society, there's not much we can do. And as you said, this continues to grow more and more as we move across the continent. But yes, we do have a foundation, which is Aspire Coronation Trust, where we basically contribute money and then they assess several projects. But some of these cannot be accessed through Aspire Coronation Trust. So we continue to do our best in terms of managing what we do externally, but we can't help ourselves because of the nature of the environment in which we operate and the need for us to continue to propagate certain things that are important for our business. But it is important, like you said, that we actually reflect on it a bit more in order to optimize shareholder or stakeholder value. The speed of complaints resolutions coming from the Naira redesign, I think if there was any institution, given our share customer base today, which approaches 60 million, that would have felt that impact, it would have been Access. But let me tell you something. Nona, I appreciate the fact that perhaps it took us a bit longer to rectify some of the issues you may have had, but it was industry-wide, and some of the problems you see obviously had nothing to do with the bank, but with the third-party dependencies and some other switching houses. But again, it's not our position to say it was somebody else's fault, irrespective, all right, of the fact that it could have been like that, or there was a third-party dependency that regulatorily we cannot bypass. It beholds on us to basically make sure that those issues are resolved. But on a more generous note, if you compare us to the rest of the industry, you will find out that most of these things were a lot better than with our competition. But again, we've continued to enhance our overall IT proficiency and capabilities and potentials to make sure that should this thing come up in the future, the speed of customer resolution, which is basically detailed and chronicled in some of our SOPs, that we don't find ourselves violating it. You spoke about fraud. I guess the figure you were alluding to, which was basically the size of the attempts, was about 10-point-something billion. But in terms of the actual, it came to 1-point-something billion. Now, given our size and scale, sometimes it's difficult to stop that at those level of attempts. But if I can give you any comfort, if it means comfort to you, that figure that was actually less than what was happening in the previous year, in spite of the fact that our activity levels, I'm talking of individual processing capabilities and all of that, has quadrupled, all right? So we actually had a lesser amount than we did in the previous year. I think we had 1.4 billion this year, 2022. In the year before, it was, 1.9 in the year before. Yes, the attempts were a lot more, as you would find, given all the things that were happening, but the actual incident and success ratio, all right, was less in 2022. The rest of Africa, I think Ghana was an aberration. That result came purely from Ghana, largely from Ghana, where we basically had overall to take a provision of 103 billion. Who would have known that you would have that kind of sovereign default, where even on the local balance sheet, I'm not talking of Eurobonds, i.e. because you're a large Ghanaian bank, you have to take provisions with respect to your treasury bills, the most secure asset you can have on earth. Who can predict that? When it happened, size would act to your disadvantage, irrespective of how profitable you are. You put your money in treasury bonds, they say take a provision on it. Nobody on earth could have suspected it. Anyway, Ghana made a loss, and that loss basically spiraled to the rest of Africa and all of that. Nothing else. Now, you mentioned a few countries, and I think it was Soniwos who also mentioned. He spoke about Cameroon. By the way, Cameroon has only just started, but Cameroon has already broken even as we speak in 2023. All right, so we don't have that problem with Cameroon. South Africa is an issue, we have had to send in a big capital, a bit more capital. When I mean it's an issue, because of the size and competition of that market, all right, if you don't want to be a dot, you have to provide more capital to continue to penetrate the market, to support the large-scale businesses, because they actually do have, as far as the banking sector is concerned, an extremely competitive market and very highly regulated with respect to what you can do. But it will break even, all right? We're not chasing shadows, and when it does break even, it will spit out significant sums of money onto our profit and loss account. You spoke about fines and contraventions. I can only say we'll continue to improve on it. The central bank obviously is our regulator. It is their exclusive reserve to fine you whatever they feel like over these contraventions. And I'm not saying that that we couldn't have done without these contraventions. All I'm saying is that we will continue to work hard to improve on it. NDIC premium, AMCON premium, we are suffering more than others, but we've taken a strategic position that we will not stop growing, because the way to reduce it is to reduce your balance sheet. We believe that one day in time, there could be a change, and that change could mean a reduction in AMCON premium, and whenever that happens, you can begin to imagine what it would mean in terms of contribution to our balance sheet. Or perhaps not even when that happens. Maybe if there's a change in central bank policy and the amount of unrestricted, the amount of money which we've kept in our DCRR, all right, any interest that is paid will basically show huge sums of money coming to our profit and loss account. On claim dividends, you make a point. I will speak to coronation registrars. The fact that they need to basically pay a lot more attention as far as e-dividend processing is concerned, so that the 22 billion naira you saw outstanding at the end of the year will be significantly reduced by the end of the year. However, what you tend to see is as that business grows bigger and bigger and bigger, several things can happen. Debts can happen, things that would make it even more difficult for you to process those payments without necessarily being bureaucratic, all right, and can therefore lead to an increase in that amount. What is important is not the actual amount, but the total amount of dividends being processed, and therefore what you may be finding at the end of the year. You also find that some of the companies that perhaps that they process for have a year end that is not 31st December, all right, and depending on when it is, you may see some of those residuals. I'm not creating an excuse. I'm saying that we will sit on coronation to make sure they get more efficient in what they do. There was a very interesting perspective you came up with respect to almost, what we used to call in accounting value additions and things like that. Let me just quickly say that we have started paying more dividends so that the minority shareholders will feel better. But the reason we have not gotten to this point in 20 years is the reason that we are the largest bank in the country today, because we had to support the growth of our institution. And we didn't want to come to the market raising more money. So we grew largely by internally generated profits, which will continue to support our growth across Africa and across the world. However, like I said at the very beginning, we have to be mindful of the various stakeholder groups. And now we are beginning to turn our attention a bit more to shareholders and the minority shareholders inclusive. And so what you start to see more and more is that there will be an increased but balanced payments, all right, by way of dividends. But having said that, of course, it's also important that the people who generate or who support the creation of this value are appropriately compensated. And I know that you were not arguing as to the compensation amount. You were speaking to the fact that perhaps you need to start paying a bit more dividend. Point noted. What you would find is our directors spend more than proportionate time, all right, daily in terms of, their work with us, whether it's weekly. We don't have 4 meetings in a year. We don't have 6 meetings in a year. We probably have 12 meetings in a year, if you understand what I'm saying. You don't grow at the pace at which we are growing by coming for quarterly meetings. So the directors are very acutely involved, and I'm talking of both the non-executive and the existing directors, all right, and that is why you are seeing that payment. But like you said, You need to see the full implication of value creation, all right, to shareholders and increase dividend payments so that that value added pie will basically be a bit more balanced. And therefore, you will start to see it a bit more as we go into the future. This is just the beginning, this 1 naira 50 kobo. And I know that Sonny spoke to it in a little while when he mentioned the fact that we started as a piece of paper. This is cardboard. His expectation is that we will see more and more payments. We will get more bonus shares. The more bonus you get, the larger capacity you need to service it, as you know, Sonny. But I can confirm to you that clearly in the hands of management and all the various verticals, all right, you will start to see greater contribution to the P&L and all of that as we move on. Mukhtar, thank you very much. I never knew you were now an Otumba or a Shiwaju. We encourage people to buy more shares. For those of us who've been here 20 years, we will now start buying a bit more to show increased confidence in this institution. The profit after tax, thank you for your explanation to the rest of the shareholders. We are not happy with it. If Ghana had not happened, perhaps we would have shown about 280 billion in PBT, which would have shown a significant leap. People will say yes, but Ghana happened to everybody. But our size and scale in Ghana is also an issue. But suffice it to say that as we get into 2023, we've published our first quarter accounts. You have just boarded a 737 aircraft about to take off. That is what it is. All right. It will be bigger, stronger, more reliable, more efficient than any other machine you see in this country. So you've paid your dues for 20 years. It is time to reap the rewards. So we'll do what is necessary to make sure that in terms of performance, that the bank continues to show much better performance and the rest of the entities. Access Pensions was a combination of two PFAs, speaking to Sigma and to FGPL. Today we are at ₦1 trillion in terms of assets which are being managed. You will find significant growth as we move into the year because we intend to maximize and leverage off the rest of the bank in terms of getting more and more RSAs to basically sign on with Access Pensions, and therefore we start to see the benefits of that combination. I think the next was BC Bakare. BC, thank you for your kind words. You've been with us for 20 years and a bit more. You will see continuous improvements in performance. We will be one of the top 5 banks in Africa by 2027. Many people would laugh and say, how is that possible? Well, all of you who are here, particularly on the front row, have seen it happen time and again. This will not be any different. It requires a lot more work because going beyond Nigeria, contesting with the larger South African banks and the banks in the Maghreb requires a lot more stealth. We will do it and we'll do it successfully. It's the same way people looked at us in 2002, and were wondering how could this small institution say to become one of the top 10 banks in the country. It happened, and it happened right on time. We became top 10, we became top 5, we became top 3, and the leader today in Nigeria. There's no reason why we can't be one of the top 5 in Africa. I think we ended with Sir Soniwosu's comments, and I think I've spoken to most of them already. And I just want to thank Sonny yet again, and I'm happy to see him recovering. Each time any of us falls ill here, particularly people who have worked with us for well over 20 years, it is something that touches management properly. We have a relationship far beyond shareholders. We have a brotherhood that exists between all of us. We will all grow 20 years older in time. It's natural. But again, just to say, Sonny, we appreciate you and thank you for making the effort to make it to today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Herbert. So we shouldn't take any more questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Because we still have a very packed agenda. I mean, much as we want to take your questions, we need to play for time. So we now come to item 2 of the agenda. My apologies, please. My apologies, please. We now come to item 2 of the agenda. Thank you very much. The directors are pleased to recommend a final dividend of 1 naira 30 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo each for the year ended 31st December 2022, subject to the deduction of withholding tax to the company's shareholders. I hereby move that a final dividend of 1 naira 30 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo for the year ended 31st December 2022 be declared and paid to shareholders whose names appeared on the register of members of the company at the close of business on 9th May 2023, subject to the deduction of appropriate withholding tax. Will the shareholder please second this motion?
I think you should ask from that side, yeah.
To be fair, we will take the seconding from that side. Your name, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Pastor Lagoki Samson Olusegun. I second that motion.
Thank you very much. I'll now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. "51 seconds, 47 seconds, 37 seconds, 30 seconds, 22 seconds, 18 seconds. Please cast your votes. 10 seconds. 3 seconds. The voting has now ended. We have 236 shareholders who have voted for the resolution and 0.42% abstain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the resolution is carried. Thank you. We now come to the election of directors. The following directors were earlier appointed as the first directors of the company. Mr. Bababode Oshunkoya, Independent Non-Executive Director and Chair. Mrs. Fatima Bello Ismail, Independent Non-Executive Director. Mr. Abubakar Jimo, Independent Non-Executive Director. Mrs. Ojinika Olagere, Non-Executive Director. Mr. Olusegun Ogboneo, Non-Executive Director. Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna, Non-Executive Director. Mr. Oluseyi Kumapai, Non-Executive Director. Dr. Herbert Wigwe, Group Chief Executive. Ms. Bolaji Agbede, Executive Director, and Mr. Olanrewaju Bamishebi, Executive Director. The CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, has approved all the appointments, and the biographies of the directors are contained on pages 92 to 97 of the annual reports and accounts. Pursuant to the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 and the Articles of Association of the company, all the directors will retire at this meeting and, being eligible, offer themselves for election. If shareholders unanimously agree, all the resolutions relating to the election of the directors may be approved by a single vote. I shall therefore move the necessary motion that would require unanimous approval. However, I want that should there be just a single vote against the motion, then the single resolution will be lost, and each motion will be voted on separately. I hereby move that in accordance with Section 287 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, the directors now offering themselves for election be elected by a single resolution. Would someone please second the motion? Mr. William.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me that opportunity. My name is Jibuno Godfrey Uche. I so second that motion.
Thank you very much. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 60 seconds for the voting period. The voting has now commenced. We have 46 seconds left.
So how do we?
35 seconds left. Twenty seconds left. 10 seconds left. 3 seconds left. The voting has now ended. We have a total of 238 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution, 3.6% against, and 1.2% abstained. Thank you.
Well, in view of the fact that there were 3 votes against, the resolution is not carried. So we will go about these resolutions on an individual basis. Consequently, I hereby move that Mr. Abubakar Jimo, Independent Non-Executive Director, be re-elected as a director. But elected, okay, sorry, be elected as a director. Mr. Abubakar Jimo. Will someone second this motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name is Adebayo Williams. I rise to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Can someone give Mr.
Chairman, again, with due respect, literally all the directors are just being elected. So I will plead that we should have somebody, preferably the company secretary, mention you for election. And after the election, I will plead with each and every one of us to then allow us take all the other directors by single resolution. Because if we don't, we have, is it 10 or 11? So we just keep spending time here. So I will plead that let's have the chairman elected, and then chairman can then take all the other directors by single resolution. Because having been elected yourself, you then have the power or the authority to then ask other persons to get elected. Because what you are doing now, some person can also say, oh, you have not even been approved yet as a director. Why are you asking somebody else to be appointed? I'm not a lawyer because I'm not learned, but I think I should mention this too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Whether we will go by the result that has just been announced. So because we have 3 people who have voted against it, are those 2 people stepping down their vote against. So it's very clear that we have unanimous resolution to go to vote the directors by single resolution. Any opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Thank you. So, based on what Nona has suggested, do we agree that we go by Nona's suggestion, i.e., I conduct the election of the chair, then he takes over to conduct the election of the other directors by single resolution. Is that agreed by the meeting? Is that agreed by the meeting? Is that agreed by the meeting? Okay, thank you, fellow shareholders. Okay, by the powers you have conferred on me, I hereby move that Mr. Bababode Oshunkoya be and is hereby elected as an independent non-executive director of Access Holdings PLC. Can someone please rise to second the motion?
I rise to second that motion. My name is Zalaja Sarata Iyabode Balogun.
Okay. Can the registrar please help us to conduct the election?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The voting shall last for a period of 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 50 seconds left. Thirty-five seconds left. Twenty-five seconds left. The voting has now ended. However, we have to, this is to elect the chairman. However, it states to elect directors here. So with your permission, we may need to start all over again. Is your permission granted, shareholders? The chairman and shareholders. Okay, so whilst we wait for the technology team, I would start the process again for voting. So for some of you who may have forgotten how to vote, I'll read out the process again. For shareholders voting using the keypads, when you came in this morning, you were provided with a voting device that we have configured to represent your shareholding in Access Holdings PLC. After the resolutions have been read out, the shareholders are to cast their votes. Kindly look at your respective voting pads. The button 1A is for a yes vote, 2B is for a no vote, and 3C is for abstain. Once the voting has commenced, kindly press the reference button in accordance with your decision, and note that each shareholder can change their vote during the voting period. But once the voting period has ended, the last button you press will be recorded as your vote. For shareholders using their mobile devices, scan the QR code with your phone, camera, or visit vote.coronationregistrars.com on your browser. Select company events, Access Holdings PLC AGM. Type in your shareholder number and access code provided during accreditation and press the login button. Ensure you accept the privacy policy. Once logged in, an amber sign appears at the top right corner of your device to show attendance status. When voting begins, the resolution would automatically pop up on your screen to cast your vote. Once the voting session commences, the voting options for, against, and abstain will pop up on your device screen. Please click on the reference button in accordance with your decision. Please note that shareholders can change their vote during the voting period, but once the voting period has ended, the last button you press will be recorded as your vote. Thank you. The voting period has now commenced. Kindly cast your votes. We have 45 seconds left. Thirty seconds left for the voting period. Fifteen seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. We have a total of 250 shareholders who voted in favor of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, shareholders, for electing our chairman unanimously as an independent non-executive director. Thank you. I now hand over to the proceedings to the chair to conduct the other elections.
Distinguished shareholders, I thank you for your confidence in me. Your vote will not be lost in me. Thank you very much. So the directors will now be elected by a single resolution. I hereby move that the unlisted directors offering themselves for election be and are hereby elected as directors of the company. Mr. Abubakar Jimo, Independent Non-Executive Director. Mrs. Fatima Bello Ismail, Independent Non-Executive Director. Mr. Olusegun Ogbonneo, Non-Executive Director. Mrs. Ojinika Olagere, Non-Executive Director. Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna, Non-Executive Director. Mr. Sheyi Kumapai, Non-Executive Director. Dr. Herbert Wigwe, Group Chief Executive. Ms. Bolaji Agbede, Executive Director, and Mr. Lanre Bamishebi, Executive Director. Will someone please second this motion?
Thank you, my chairman. The name is Engineer Victor Engineer. I rise to second that motion.
Thank you. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. Kindly remain patient whilst we start the voting. Voting has now commenced. We have 44 seconds left into the voting period.
Please, pause it. You're supposed to take everybody by one single resolution. So we're going back. We're not taking it one.
Kindly remain patient, please.
One of the constraints of technology.
ask that you kindly remain patient, please. The voting has now commenced. We have 45 seconds left. $35. 25 seconds left. 15 seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 242 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution. 0.41% were against the resolution, and no shareholder abstained. Thank you.
So, the resolution is carried. Distinguished shareholders, on behalf of the board, I'd want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your confidence in this board. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the external auditors. In accordance with the provisions of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018, the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020, and the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, the Board of Directors and the Statutory Audit Committee are recommending the appointment of Messrs. KPMG as the company's statutory auditors in place of the retiring auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I hereby move that KPMG be appointed as the auditors of the company in place of the retiring auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, effective 1st January 2023. Will someone please second this motion?
Mr. Chairman, at last. I want to rise to second the motion and to tell you that why we are requesting, encouraging you for this open meeting is because of this form of technology that we are seeing. If it were even by show of hand, we would have within seconds and leave here. But we thank God we soon get there. My name is Patrick Ajudo. I rise to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Life is about progress, and progress will be made. Thank you. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 45 seconds left. Thirty seconds left. 15 seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 238 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution. 1.65% were against the resolution, and no shareholder abstained. Thank you.
Thank you. So the resolution is carried. Next, we have the remuneration of the auditors. In line with Section 408 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the auditor's remuneration shall be fixed by the company at its annual general meeting, or in such manner as the company at its annual general meeting may determine. I therefore move that the remuneration of the auditors be fixed at a fee to be agreed by the Board of Directors. Will someone please second this motion? We need some equity in the second. Toyin, can you please give it to a lady? We need equity in this process.
My name is Uka Patricia Oresawaraho. I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 45 seconds left. Thirty-five seconds left. Twenty seconds left. Five seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 236 shareholders who have voted in favor of the resolution. 3.27% were against the resolution and 0.41% abstained. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The resolution is carried. The next item on the agenda is the disclosure of the remuneration of the managers of the company in line with Section 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020. May I request that you kindly refer to page 322 of the annual reports and accounts for the remuneration of the managers of the company for the year ended 31st December 2022. I hereby move that the remuneration of the managers of the company as disclosed on page 322 of the annual reports and accounts be and is hereby noted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Prince Engineer Koliowo. I move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. You second the motion, sir. Part of our ethos actually is strict adherence to protocols and processes. So we have it here that there will be a voting process. So I think for clarity and transparency, I think we should just go through the voting process. So it's on record. I now call on the registrar to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. The voting has commenced. We have 40 seconds left. Twenty-five seconds left. Ten seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 247 shareholders who have voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the resolution is carried. The next item on the agenda is the amendment of the company's memorandum and articles of association. The resolution seeks to amend the company's memorandum and articles of association to bring it in line with the ease of doing business innovations introduced by the Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 2023, amendments to the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2022, which was assented to by the President on February 14, 2023. Please note that the amended memorandum and articles of association, as well as a schedule of the proposed amendments, have been uploaded on the company's investors portal. I hereby move that following the recommendation of the board, the company's memorandum and articles of associations be and are hereby amended as set out at the company's website, the Access Company. May I please finish the accesscorporation.com/investor and hereby displayed on the screen.
Owolabi Peter is the name. I hereby
No.
support the motion.
No, we haven't moved. There's an observation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. My observation there is that in the notice of meeting, what we are amending in line with the CAMA and the Business Facilitation Act should be written out in the notice for all to know, not that referring us to investors portal. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's noted. That's noted. Thank you very much. So will someone please second the motion?
Owolabi Peter is the name. I so second.
Thank you very much. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 40 seconds left. Twenty-five seconds left. Fifteen seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 239 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution. 1.22% were against the resolution and 1.63% abstained from the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The resolution is thereby carried. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the general mandate for recurring transactions with related parties or interested persons transactions in line with the rule of the Nigerian Exchange Limited governing transactions with related parties or interested persons. As indicated in the notice of this meeting, in line with the provisions of Rule 20.8, subsection H, rules governing related party transactions of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, interested persons have undertaken to ensure that their proxies, representatives, or associates shall abstain from voting on Resolution 9 above. I hereby move that the company and its related entities, the group, be and are hereby granted a general mandate in respect of all recurrent transactions entered into with a related party or interested person, provided such transactions are of a revenue or trading nature or are necessary in the company's day-to-day operations. This mandate shall commence on the date on which this resolution is passed and shall continue to operate until the date on which the next annual general meeting of the company is held. Will someone please second this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. The name is Oguntoye Olusegun David, MD, CEO, Waleayo Nigeria Limited. I hereby rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I call on the registrars for the vote.
Thank you, Mr.
Pardon
Chairman.
me, please.
The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. The voting commences now. We have 40 seconds left. Twenty-five seconds left. Ten seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 227 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution. 0.82% voted against and 6.15% abstained. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The resolution is carried. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the remuneration of directors, of which I am a beneficiary. I therefore hand over the microphone to the company secretary to conduct this part of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your company is required by law to seek the approval of the annual fees payable to the non-executive directors. Shareholders will therefore be required to approve annual fee of 33,125,000 naira for the non-executive directors for the 2023 financial year. I now move that the director's fee for the financial year ending 31st December 2023 and for succeeding years until reviewed by the annual general meeting be and is hereby fixed at 33,135,000 naira only. Will someone please second the motion?
I so move. Boniface Okezie, second the motion.
Can they go on and conduct the election,
Thank
please?
you, Mr. Secretary. The voting period shall last for 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 40 seconds left. Twenty-five seconds left. Ten seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 242 shareholders who voted in favor of the resolution, 0.41% against, and 0.82% abstained. Thank you.
Thank you, shareholders. The resolution is carried.
Thank you very much, distinguished shareholders. The next item on the agenda is the approval of migration of Access Bank PLC's Employers Performance Share Plan to Access Holdings PLC. Following the restructuring of Access Bank PLC through a scheme of arrangement, which resulted in the shareholders of the bank being migrated to Access Holdings PLC members are required to approve the migration of the bank employees' performance share plan of the company. The employees' performance share plan will thereafter be applicable across the company and its subsidiaries, subject to the terms and conditions as may be determined by the board of directors. I now move that pursuant to A, the establishment of the employees' performance share plan by a special resolution of shareholders of Access Bank PLC, the bank, passed at the bank's 22nd annual general meeting held on the 28th day of April. And B, the restructuring of the shareholding of the bank through a scheme of arrangements, the scheme, which resulted in the shareholders of the bank being migrated across to Access Holdings PLC. The directors be and are hereby authorized to migrate the employees' performance plan of the bank to Access Holdings PLC, such that the employees' performance share plan shall, for all intents and purposes, be applicable to eligible employees of Access Holding PLC, the bank, together with any or all of the direct subsidiaries, as directors may determine, on such terms and conditions, or modifications thereto, as the directors may from time to time consider appropriate. Will someone please second this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Makonjuola Oladayo Abdul-Yekin. I second the motion.
Voting period shall last 60 seconds. Voting has now commenced. "25 seconds left. "15 seconds left. "5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 232 shareholders who are in favor of the resolution, 3.32% against, and 0.41% abstained. Thank you.
Thank you. The resolution is carried. The next item on the agenda is the grant of necessary and incidental powers to the directors to take actions required to implement the foregoing resolutions. I now move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to perform all acts and to do all such other things as may be necessary for or incidental to giving effect to the above resolutions, including but not limited to seeking any regulatory approval and complying with any regulatory directive. Will someone please second this motion?
My name is Sir Prince Adeyemi Olateru Olagbegi. I hereby, before I move, I want to commend you, sir. But while sitting down here, I have been credited with my dividends. I think that's a very good move. I think we should applaud that. Why? Check your phones. I have just been credited with my dividends. I will hereby move for the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I now call on the registrars to conduct the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting period shall last 60 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 40 seconds left. Ten seconds left. 5 seconds left. The voting has now ended. Thank you. We have a total of 241 shareholders who have voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the resolution is carried. The next item is the presentation of the external consultants' reports on corporate governance and board assessment of Access Holdings PLC. The corporate governance codes issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria provide that there shall be a board review and corporate governance assessment covering all aspects of the board structure and composition, responsibilities, processes, and relationships, as well as individual members' competencies and respective roles on the board's, in the board's performance. The codes further provide that the review should be conducted by an external consultant and that the reports of the review should be presented to shareholders at the annual general meeting. In line with the provisions of the code, your board appointed the firm of Ernst & Young to carry out the review. I will therefore call upon the representative of Ernst & Young to present their report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, esteemed shareholders. With your permission and the permission of our chairman, I will just take a summarized report, which is on page 124 and 125. The report of the external consultants on the board performance evaluation and corporate governance review of Access Bank, of Access Holdings PLC. We have performed the evaluation of the board of Access Holdings PLC for the year ended 31st December 2022 in accordance with the guidelines of section 2.8.3 of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Revised Code of Corporate Governance 2014, as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies in Nigeria, and section 15.1 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance NCCG 2018. Our approach included the review of Access Holding PLC's corporate governance framework and all relevant policies and procedures. We obtained written representation through online questionnaires administered to the board members and conducted one-on-one interviews with the directors and key personnel of the company. The evaluation is limited in nature and as such may not necessarily disclose all significant matters about the company or reveal irregularities, if any, in the underlying information. On the basis of our work, the board of Access Holding PLC has complied with the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Revised Code of Corporate Governance 2014, as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies 2014, and finally the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, NCCG 2018, all during the year ended 31st December 2022. The outcome of the review and our recommendations have been articulated and included in our detailed report to the board. The report should be read in conjunction with the corporate governance section of Access Holding PLC's 2022 annual report. For Ernst & Young, Ben Afudegu, partner, Risk Consulting Services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished shareholders, we come to the final item on the agenda, which is the election of the members of the Audit Committee. In line with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Audit Committee should comprise a maximum of 5 members, including 3 shareholder representatives and 2 directors. The directors nominated to represent the board on the Audit Committee are Mr. Abubakar Jimo, Independent Executive Director, Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act requires that nominations for membership of the Audit Committee shall be in writing and are delivered to the Company Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. The Company Secretary has confirmed that by the expiration of the statutory period to receive nominations for membership of the Audit Committee from shareholders, that's on the 3rd of May 2023, only 3 valid nominations were received. Please note that the following members have been validly nominated to represent the shareholders on the Audit Committee, and they are Mr. Henry Omashola Arago, nominated by Mr. Peter Eziayom, Mr. Idaire Gogo Ogan, nominated by Mr. Uzo Uwagu, and Mr. Akindele Gogwade, nominated by Rita Ugoka. Since there are not more than 3 valid nominations, there will be no election. I therefore move for the Audit Committee to be composed of the underlisted 3 shareholder representatives and 2 board representatives in line with the requirements of Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. 1. Mr. Henry Omashola Arago, shareholder representative. 2. Mr. Idaire Gogo Ogan, shareholder representative. 3. Mr. Akindele Gogwade, shareholder representative. 4. Mr. Abubakar Jimo, board representative. And 5. Mrs. Ojinika Olagere, board representative. Will someone please second this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hereby second the motion. I'm Agnes Ogunwale.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So thank you very much. The committee is now duly in place. As there is no other business on the agenda, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the board for attending this meeting and showing so much interest in your company's affairs. I hereby declare the meeting closed. Light refreshments have been provided for all shareholders, and I urge us all to indulge and partake in this. I now call on Dr. Farouk Umar to render the closing prayer, after which we'll take the national anthem. Can we please remain, because the national anthem will be rendered.
We thank God for this AGM where Access Holdings PLC is coming into a holding company, which we believe will increase our profitability, it will reduce our cost, and it's something that we are happy that we are going to have subsidiaries that will add a lot of value to us. We thank God for giving us the leadership, the MD, who has retired, our directors who are knowledgeable and who are contributing a lot to the development of our company. We pray to God to help us have a peaceful transition. As we know, in the next few days, we are going to have a new government. We ask you, Allah, to guide our incoming president, to give us peace and stability in this country, and to unite us so that this country will progress. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون